It was supposed to be just another Tuesday. Jake Turner was driving his beat-up pickup down the empty stretch of Highway 19, a few miles out of Maple Ridge. The rain had started again, thin, misty drops that made the world look blurred, like a memory you didn't want to let go of. His 6-year-old daughter, Ellie, was asleep in the backseat, clutching her worn-out stuffed bunny. Jake had just finished a double shift at the construction site. He was exhausted, but there was something about driving through the quiet that made him feel almost peaceful. Then he saw her, a woman, standing by the roadside in the rain. Her white dress, what was left of it, was ripped down one side, her hair plastered to her face. She looked like she'd walked out of a movie scene gone wrong. Barefoot, shivering, mascara running, crying. Jake slowed down, rolling down his window. "Ma'am, you okay?" She turned, startled. Her eyes, gray-blue and trembling, met his. "Please," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I just need to get away." Jake hesitated. Every alarm bell in his head went off. But then Ellie stirred in the backseat, and he thought of how he'd want someone to help her if she was ever in trouble. "Hop in," he said quietly. "Truck's old, but it's warm." The woman climbed in, clutching her torn dress tightly. Jake handed her his flannel jacket. She took it, murmuring a thank you, and stared out the window. For a while, neither spoke. Only the soft hum of the engine and the rhythmic swipe of the wipers filled the silence. Finally, Jake said, "You got a name?" She hesitated. "Lila," she said softly. "Lila Hart." He nodded. "I'm Jake, and that's Ellie, my little tornado." A small smile flickered across her face. "She's beautiful." "Yeah," Jake said with a chuckle. "Got her mom's smile." His voice caught for half a second. Passed 3 years ago." Lila looked down, her eyes full of quiet empathy. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Jake shrugged. "We manage, one day at a time." They stopped at a roadside diner a few miles later. Jake bought Ellie a pancake stack and Lila a cup of hot tea. He noticed her hands were shaking as she lifted the cup. "You running from someone?" he asked gently. Her eyes met his. For a moment, she looked like she might lie. But then she sighed. "From everyone," she said. "I was supposed to get married today." Jake raised an eyebrow. "Doesn't look like it went great." She laughed, a sound that was equal parts humor and heartbreak. "You could say that. The dress cost more than most cars. The man, well, let's just say he's the kind of person who never hears no." Jake frowned. "You saying he hurt you?" "Not physically," she said. "But I was a deal to him. My father's business, his empire, everything was about mergers and money. I was the bow on top. I couldn't do it." She stared out the window. "So I ran." Jake leaned back, studying her. She wasn't wearing jewelry now, but he could see the faint tan line on her finger where a ring had been. Her skin, her posture, everything about her screamed someone from a different world. Still, right now, she just looked human. Lost, scared. "Well," Jake said finally, "you found the right truck to run into. We don't do judgment here. Just pancakes and bad country radio." Lila smiled again. "That sounds perfect." They spent the rest of the day driving. Ellie made up stories from the backseat, about dragons and pink castles and a brave knight named Daddy. Lila listened, laughing softly, her shoulders relaxing little by little. At one point, Jake caught her staring at the raindrops on the window. "You ever been poor?" he asked suddenly. She blinked. "What, poor? Like, counting quarters to buy milk? Wondering how you're gonna keep the lights on?" Lila hesitated. "No," she admitted, "but I've been lonely. The kind of lonely that follows you, even in a room full of people." Jake nodded slowly. "Guess we all got our kind of hard." By nightfall, Jake pulled into the parking lot of his small rental house on the edge of town. "You can crash here," he said. "Spare room's not fancy, but it's clean. No strings." Lila looked at him, eyes wide. "You don't even know me." He smiled. "I don't need to. You needed help. That's enough." Something in his words broke her a little, in a good way. She nodded, whispering, "Thank you." The next morning, the world woke up to headlines: billionaire heiress Lila Hart missing hours before lavish wedding. Jake saw it on the TV at the diner while he was getting coffee. His heart dropped. The photo, Lila in her gown, smiling under a canopy of white roses, was unmistakable. He turned around slowly. Lila was sitting at the corner booth, wearing one of his old sweatshirts, laughing as Ellie showed her a drawing of a stick figure family. Jake took a deep breath. When she saw his face, her smile faded. "You saw it," she said quietly. Yeah, Jake replied. So, what now? She looked down. I don't know. I couldn't go back to that life. Not when I finally feel like I can breathe. Jake hesitated. They'll come looking. I know. She took a deep breath, then looked him in the eye. But last night was the first time in years I didn't feel like a product. I just felt like me. That afternoon, as Jake fixed a fence out back, a black car rolled up the driveway. 2 men in suits stepped out. Mr. Turner, one asked. We're looking for Lila Hart. Jake's chest tightened. She's inside, he said calmly. Lila came to the door, shoulders straight, eyes steady. She looked nothing like the broken woman he'd met by the road. You don't have to go, Jake said quietly. She smiled sadly. Yeah, I do, but thank you for reminding me what kindness looks like. The men escorted her to the car. But before she got in, Lila turned back, pulling something from her pocket, a small, folded note. For Ellie, she said. Tell her to keep drawing castles. And then she was gone. Weeks passed. Life went back to its rhythm, school drop-offs, construction jobs, quiet dinners. Sometimes Jake caught himself glancing at the road, half expecting to see her standing there again. Then one morning, a thick envelope arrived in the mail. Inside was a letter written in looping, elegant handwriting. Greater than, Jake. I went back, but not for long. I ended the engagement and started over. You taught me that being free isn't about money, it's about peace. I bought something small, an old diner outside Maple Ridge. It needs fixing up, but I think you might know a guy. Tell Ellie there's a whole wall waiting for her drawings. Lila. Jake stared at the letter, smiling. That weekend, he and Ellie drove down Highway 19 again. The rain had cleared, the sun breaking through in golden streaks. When they reached the diner, Lila was standing outside, paint on her hands, hair tied up, grinning. Hey, stranger, she said. Jake laughed. Thought you'd forgotten about the pancakes and bad country radio. Never, she said, stepping closer. Ellie ran to her, wrapping tiny arms around her legs. And for the first time in a long while, Jake felt something he hadn't felt since his wife passed, hope. That old diner became something more than a place for coffee and pie. It became a symbol of second chances, a place where strangers found warmth, where broken hearts healed, where kindness had changed the course of 2 lives. Because sometimes, the smallest act, a man stopping for a crying woman in a torn dress, can rewrite everything.